I was out of breath, staring down at the ground and talking to what I assumed would be 3 very attentive friends. But then I looked up. They were all there, but there was no immediacy, no urgency in anyone's face. Emi and Okawa weren't even looking at me, nor Yuya, but at Katayama. They were fixated on his face, and each bore a sad, hopeless, empty expression. And they certainly weren't about to get moving. There was even general heaviness in the air. Something was very wrong. I gently reached out my hand and touched Amy's shoulders.
どうしたの? こうダメ片山くんどんどん衰弱してる
陽介喋らなくなったよどうしよう陽介
Emi's eyes were filled with tears. Okawa, too, was cradling Katayama's head and looked like he'd been crying this whole time. His eyes were bright red and his nose was running. It's very clean for a runny nose. Yuya, still saying nothing, just walked over to Katayama's side, bent down and began examining his wound. The 4 of us silently but unanimously agreed that our best course of action was to pick up Katayama and bring him out through the exit we discovered. And we had to be very, very quick about it, or he would really die. I could tell just by looking at him that his time was almost up.
あ、背に乗せるのを手伝ってくれ。
涼介、頑張れ。みんなが助けてくれるぞ。
As this was all going on, I had the nagging feeling like I was forgetting something. Of course, Mitsuki. We had to go find her. We couldn't just leave her behind after all.
どうしよう私2階ちょっと見てきていい美月の声が気になるんだ遠くに行っちゃったら
He didn't even have to say anything this time. His eyes just told me the whole story. Got it. I know I can trust you with this task, they said. And that was enough for me. I shot off down the hall like a bullet. I was determined to find Mitsuki and rejoin everyone en route. I hurried down to the 2nd floor, but Mitsuki's voice was coming from even farther down. I had to keep going to the 1st floor ahead of the others. Oh, fuck. Crap, I didn't even save. I should have done that. Tweak jump over. To forget about that. Hope I'm not on a time limit or anything. The words "kill before you're killed" are scribbled all over the school flyer. Their letters scratched the back corner of the blackboard seemingly with fingernails. Do not trust them, they will betray you. Oops, didn't read the rest of that. The one who volunteered to go will betray you most severely. The cabinet is locked. There appears to be numerous thick books inside. They have titles like The Truth of the Ties and Adorable Enough to Kill You. What in the world could that last one possibly be about? Not sure, but let's go in here. Hey, you look familiar. A newly decomposed corpse. Based on the appearance and dress, this seems to have been a female. There's a student ID name tag on her feet. Kirasuyama High School, Megumi Onada. Oh yeah, this is the same school where Mayu was at. How do... feel to be the writing is partially erased, making it hard to interpret what might have said. Oh, hold on. Ooh, our darkening increased. The door seems like it might just be openable. It's a bunch of dishes. They must have been propped up against the door. There are wet, bloody prints all over them. It's a little disgusting. Did that just... Yeah, that just raised it even more. Oh my. It's a really deceased corpse, still a bit warm. Based on the appearance of his uniform, this was most likely a high school boy. There's a student ID name tag on the ground next to him, but... Is that an alias? A fake ID? The name of the card seems highly suspicious. Kurashiki Industrial High School, Honda, 4th Street. Probably a good place to save. Nothing here. Nothing there either. Did the key drop at all? Ooh, hello. There's a thoroughly decomposed corpse here. The name on its tag sounds male, but it's a little hard to tell. Matsukaze Prefectural High School, Motohiro Suzuki. The door leading to the covered hall walkway is frozen in place as if it's just decoration on the wall. It can't be opened. One way or another, we're going to make it out of the school, all of us together.
美月の声が聞こえた場所から考えると、これ以上先だと聞こえないよね。戻ってみよう。
Is a half-decomposed corpse. Though kind of hard to tell, it appears to be the remains of a female senior high school student. She still has to be loosely gripping her student ID name tag in one of her hands. Kurashige Industrial High School, Leona Omura. Okay, can't go past that point.
さっき美月の声が聞こえた場所から考えると、これ以上先だと聞こえないよね。戻ってみよう。
It's a thoroughly decomposed corpse. Having gone completely skeletal, it's virtually impossible to determine age or gender. Fortunately, deceased name tag who survived and identifies him as a male student from a trade school. Komashiro Trade School, Toru Takahashi. Can't go that way or this way. Guess we're going back down there. If I keep running in circles like this, I'd never find her. I was in a state of panic and I was allowing it to steer my path. Frustrated with the situation and with myself for choosing to give up and head back empty-handed, I forced myself to stop and turn. I was going to do what I should have done in the first place. Call out Mitsuki's name with everything I had in me and hope she responded.
Mitsuki! Mitsuki! どこ? みんないるよ!
No answer. Just the cold, lonely sounds of rain and wind bearing down its old, dilapidated building. This may have been a fairly large school, but sound traveled well in here. If she were anywhere in this hallway, I'm sure she would have heard me. And if she were just here only minutes ago, she definitely should have been around now. Could something have happened to her?
Mitsuki!
Still just decoration on a wall? Still just decoration on a wall. I cannot meet his gaze. It's the only place left to go. What the hell was that? What had just appeared in front of me? Oh, no, still the same, dark. From the looks of it, you're another victim dragged here against your will, no? Well, I'll tell you now, there's no escape from this school. There is nothing to be gained here but despair. Though, if you got an iron will, you might be able to survive for a little while at least. Here, you should have this. It'll help keep the wandering spirits at bay, though it only works once. So take it, get out of here, and fight like hell. Stay alive as long as you possibly can. The spirit vanished, but lying on the floor below where it had been was a gemstone. Specifically, a violet-colored gemstone, probably an amethyst. So I can use it to keep the wandering spirits at bay one time, huh? I guess he meant the full-body ones, or would have kept him at bay too. Either way, with this gem, I felt like I could easily get back to my friends safely. I was as hopeful as one could expect, all things considered. Acquired an amethyst. Of course, he also said there'd be no escape from here, but it was my prerogative to believe what I wanted to believe and ignore what I wanted to ignore. Looks in the other way of the bus. Oops.
大丈夫。さっきまでそこに幽霊みたいなのがいてさ。みんなは早く片山連れて出よう。何してるの？早く片山連れてかなきゃ。会わなかったよ。さっき瞳子が降りた後すごい声を上げて、そのまま嘘。大川くん、片山くんから離れないってどうすればいいの？どうしてこんなことになっちゃったんだろう。冷めないね。おかしいな。
Didn't realize how long my mic was muted.
してるんだけど。トウコ。
My energy was waning again. I sank to the ground, landing on my knees. Emmy followed my lead and put her arm around me for comfort. A friend had just died. He just died. God, why? That you, yeah? Emmy and I looked at each other. We both heard them. Footsteps coming down the hall. It was too dark to make out who it was, but the gate was decidedly male. The two of us slowly and quietly rose to our feet, hid around the corner, and peeked out, both terrified and curious as to whom or what we might see. There, at the end of the hall, the figure finally came into view. It was a tallish man, unsteadily teetering as he slowly strode toward us. It was Shimada, drenched from head to toe.
島田君。
Amy shot forward, intending to run toward him, but I grabbed her arm and held her back without even thinking about it. She turned and looked at me with a puzzled expression.
私無理。え、まさかなんかされたの？うん。よかった。こんな時だし、起こったことだけでも伝えておかないと。
She looked back to me again as she said this, staring right into my eyes in an almost disciplinary manner. It was a perfect guilt stare. I couldn't help but succumb to it, feeling bad for not having filled her in about the Shimada incident. Shimada continued his slow, wet walk down the hall. Then all of a sudden, for no discernible reason, he simply fell forward, landing hard on his knees. Something was wrong with him, and while I loathed the man, I didn't want to see him suffer. Emmy and I both poised to rush to his aid when other figures randomly began appearing all around him, figures of children, blue and ethereal, shimmering with their own light. We could barely even see Shimada from our vantage point anymore, as his body was obscured almost completely by the backs of these ghost children. He wasn't moving, though, so it didn't seem like they were doing anything to him. But then, he wasn't moving. At all. Which seemed highly suspicious. It occurred to me that maybe we should try to save him. I inched forward. He was still in exactly the same position he had been when he fell to his knees. He literally hadn't moved at all. Was he unconscious? Amy and I looked at one another and nodded. It was a silent signal to move forward and do whatever we could to help. The children vanished as we approached, revealing a horrific sight. Shimada's stomach had been flayed open. He was dead. The knife he flaunted earlier was jutting from the wound. It was an almost ceremonial death, like that of a samurai who thrown himself on his sword. Can we take his necklace?
何なの？さっきの子供たち。知らないよ。まだ近くにいるんじゃないの？キザミ君、大変なの。島田君が。
Yuya, who presumably rushed down to see what was wrong, calmly walked over to Shimada's body. He was checking for signs of respiration or pulse. He turned back to face us again a moment later, and his facial expression said it all. Shimada was really dead. I was beginning to lose it, not him. He's just fine. I just couldn't take any more of this. My friends and acquaintances were dying one by one. I guess I should say had died, but it didn't seem like it was over. Not by a long shot. Hell, it was doing more than trying. It had already succeeded twice over. I was scared. I was paranoid. I was shaking and crying and screaming inside. I was deathly afraid that something else would show up. And then it did. There was a little girl in a red dress standing between us and the third floor staircase. I couldn't make out the expression on her face through her bangs, but I could literally feel the hatred in her eyes as she stared into our souls. Then she turned around and slid up the staircase into the third floor hallway. Emmy was turned the other way, so she hadn't seen the girl at all. She eventually followed our gaze, but by the time the girl was gone, she looked confused. That particular apparition looked a lot different from the other ghosts I'd seen, but there was still no doubt in my mind she was definitely a ghost.
大川君は連れてこようよ。とにかく出なきゃ。この学校から。私呼んでくる。
待て。
ゆうや、私も。
危険だ。ここで待っていろ。
Dangerous? Well, that was the direction. Well, that is the direction the girl in the red dress went, and I guess Yuya didn't want me to put in harm's way. I nodded and watched his back recede into the darkness as he chased after Emmy. Except for fear. What was going on? Why was Emmy screaming? I can hear voices now. Emmy and Okawa were having a heated argument.